All right. So happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Fireside Chat Wednesday. Thank you all for coming. I'm Chanaye Jackson, just a really quick, and I do these every month on the second Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. I think I'm in Mountain Time right now. We're crazy. It's wild over here. So today we're bringing on Rhonda Berns. She is a friend of a friend who I met during a networking meeting, and it's maybe I'm being like this whole like kind of self-serve. I'm being a little self-serving, a little selfish. I was like, I want to talk to somebody about like sales. So I go into my like little universe and start looking. And so Rhonda is exactly that person. So that I thought would be awesome. And just so you know, Tasha has actually is here as well. She was a previous guest last month, right? Um, Sorry, I don't know what day it is anymore. I apologize.
It's
Um, and yeah, and so it's like one of these this is like one of these fun, cool opportunities that we get to talk to really cool experts and like deep dive in. So, just the rules of the road for the fireside chat, participate. That's the goal. Actually, today there will be zero slides. And actually, the fun part about this one is Rhonda and I were doing, we always do a prep call. It's about an hour, and then we just talk and see what happens and come up with what's going to happen. Literally, Rhonda and I just took notes as her and I were talking, and essentially, we're going to try to replicate what we did, what we said. Like that's the that is the entire goal. So I think y'all will be very happy about this one. Because the goal also too between the two of us, her and I, is that we spend time talking to people and like getting to know them. Relationships are good, right? Um, so let me introduce you to Rhonda right now. So Rhonda Berns is a dedicated sales trainer and coach. She's about empowering individuals and passionate about teams unlocking their fullest potential. She's had 40 years of sales leadership. And if you were hopped on a little bit earlier, she talks about her time in Boston as working in the hotel industry, then also having her own B&B. So she's witnessed firsthand how the right guidance and mindset can transform careers and businesses. And her mission is to inspire and equip solopreneurs and small business owners and sales professionals with customer centric strategies that not only drive results, but also feel confident.
yeah,
And of course, foster connection and relationship. So, thank
absolutely.
you, Rhonda. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to be here today. We had such a great conversation, and that's what I truly believe when we talk about sales. I think a lot of people have this misconception that sales has to be, always be closing, which is one of the lines that I just detest. It was in a movie a long time ago, and it drove me nuts as a salesperson who believed in building relationships. And what I find is you should always be connecting, and the connections will actually lead to a sale if it's meant to happen. But this trying to force things to happen all the time. So like our call was ended up being, I mean, we talked for a long time on that call. And
Mhm.
I think we were on the call for about 2 hours, not for just an hour,
Yeah, it was
because we
about
really,
95 minutes.
yeah, we got, to me, that's it's about getting to know the people you're working with first, and then have the synergy start to come into play. And that's when the magic starts to happen. You can't really work with someone or help someone until you actually get to know who they are.
I like one of the things that we like when I first approached you and was really sort of thinking about just sort of sales, right? Like I think for a lot of us, like I'm a service provider and have a little bit of a productized service provider as well side of myself. I think a lot of people are in this like fourth quarter like spin, right? October 1 was the beginning of fourth quarter and we're like, okay, like, from now until the end of the year, like some of us make the majority of our money here in these
Mhm.
last 3 months. But it was also just kind of fascinating. The conversation that you and I've had prior to this was that, like, it was really, and what I was thinking about when I was inviting you on was like, we really need to change the mindset that we have about sales.
Mhm.
And like, what does that sort of actually look like in practice, right? Like, because I think we're in a space, and personal opinion, right? I think we're in a space where like the bro marketers are quote unquote winning, and then everybody else who doesn't market like them is not. But
Right.
I think there's opportunities to do things differently. What do you think?
Yeah, I was always, I mean, if I go back in my history on where I come from, I believe, in fact, I got some of the Dale Carnegie books right behind me, and he talks about, how to win friends and influence people. And, the man died back in the 1950s, and his philosophies are still in place today. And I went through all of his training programs, and additional to a lot of other ones in there too. But the core of everything that he taught was about the relationship. And it's also about how do we show up? And sales, again, I think what we see a lot is everyone is trying to force, or there's like this opportunity, like we need to force someone to sign the contract, and we need to manipulate them, and give them this and give them that and give, and just, to me it was always like a push, and it never felt authentic to me. It never felt natural to me. I was always very client first, where I would not have a problem of actually referring a client to my competitor if it was a better fit for them. If it was going to satisfy what they needed. If I could not
Yeah.
provide what they needed, I never had a problem. My bosses did, but I never did, giving them the option of going. In fact, Leon and I were talking about the hotels. I worked in downtown Boston, and not every time do we have the space or the product that we could offer this particular person, but I knew all my competitors. So I would make the phone call and see if they had space, and I would do the actual introduction. Because to me, my relationship with the individual that was booking the event with me, or my client, was more important than me trying to force this this meeting into my hotel that wasn't going to fit. They weren't going to be happy. There was going to be egg all over their face because their attendees weren't going to be happy. So this thought process, like book it under any means, is just so, well, I never did it, so I was always getting in trouble, but it just didn't work for me. And I truly believe, even though that bro marketing and that bro sales has been really forefront in a lot of people's training, the buyer today doesn't go for that anymore. The buyer today doesn't have to lean forward to this anymore. They don't have to accept it. We know from what buyers are talking about now, when they've been interviewed, is that over 86% of them will not reach out to you to buy from you until they're ready to buy, because everything's on the internet, right? They can get all of our information. They go onto our LinkedIn profile, they can go to our website, they can pick up information, like everything's there. So what would bring them to you? The only thing that's going to bring them to you is your connection. Did you create a connection, and are you staying connected to them through multiple meets, phone calls, going out to meet them, send them send them a thank you note, or send them a quick note thought about you. I love finding articles that apply to my clients and the business that they're in. Hey, I saw this really cool article and I thought about you today. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I thought it would be really cool for you to see. Those are all touches. I was out in my regular life and I thought about them and I sent it out. The purpose is so that when, number one, I like them and I want to, stay connected to them. But the other part is when they are ready. This is where you can't force people. When they are ready to move forward, they're ready to make a decision, ready to do training, or ready to do, you know, fix their operation, which is what you help with. You want to be the first one they think about. And how do we do that? We don't just show up once a year to ask them for the sale.
Right.
You're not memorable. So the goal is to get people's attention, but do it in a way that's going to connect them. And I think you and I talked about my 3 C's that I share with everyone that I work with. And the 3 C's are curiosity. Get really curious about the people that you're working with. Ask good questions. Be curious. Start a conversation, right? Because sales, if you look at all of the successful salespeople out there, the most successful ones, they will tell you the exact thing. They have had the conversation, they know their clients, they understand what they need and what they want and what they're trying to do, and they connect with them in a way that's going to allow them to understand that they are not a salesperson, they're their consultant and their advisor, and they're going to help them achieve their results. Or, like I said at the very beginning, find someone who can help them. And that's why I do all that networking. That's how you and I met.
Mhm.
Networking to say, okay, who else is out there? Because I can't fulfill everything for my clients. I can't do it all. I mean, I stay in my wheelhouse.
Stay
I
in your
do
lane.
really
Yep.
good at. They need a bookkeeper. They're not going to come to me for that. I'm going to go find a bookkeeper, and I'm going to send them to you to do operations. So knowing other people in there, and then it's all about trust, right? I mean, we throw that around a lot, but at the end of the day, it's we only do business with people that we are getting to know, getting to like, and more importantly, really trust. Because I'm not going to refer somebody that I don't trust. I mean, I might get into a stuck situation and I'll take something if it's right there and I need it right now, but that's pretty rare. It's pretty rare for even for our clients to do that. They're not going to Most people don't make snap decisions, especially if they're high revenue dollar amounts. They're going to put some work into it and they're going to make decisions on how they feel. I know it sounds woo woo, right? But we make decisions on buying things based on how we feel. Either we feel good about it and working with this person or we don't feel good. And sometimes it all happens in our heads and we don't know why. And that's why creating the 3 C's and then creating a process that you can actually follow that's authentic, that feels like something you can do and it doesn't feel unnatural and it doesn't feel phony and you're not making things up for the sake of making them up.
Because you're quote unquote supposed to, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, like we're supposed to know everything. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, you can ask ChatGPT. They probably know more than I do. But if you don't know something, there's no reason to say, you know what, I'm not really sure, but that's a great question. Can I get
Yeah.
back to you in a couple hours with the answer for you? And I think that's where the other part people mess up a lot. They feel like they have to answer every single question, and that's just not how it goes. We are human beings first. Then we, are in a relationship and then we have our businesses and then and then you're making the sale. And I believe people forget about the human element of the human being first before the sale. And I think when you look at the bro market, which you and I were talking quite a bit about, because again, they tried to beat that one over my head and it just never felt good for me. And I just couldn't do it. You know, I remember my boss a couple times I was, working on some really big pieces of business. He's like, just book it. I'm like, what do you mean just book it? And he's like, no, just go book it. I'm like, no, the client has a lot of concerns still. We still have to work through the challenges that they're having, and we need to make sure these things are going to work out well for them. They have a lot of questions, like objections. I love talking about objections because people get really scared of them. But I love objections. If you can get someone to tell you what they're concerned about or what's causing them to hesitate to move forward with you, then it gives you an opportunity to answer questions.
Yeah.
When they don't talk to you, you're in trouble because that's when they ghost you.
That's when
So,
they're about to exit.
right? You've had them go really quiet on you before, haven't you? It's like,
Oh, of course.
oh, okay. When you can't get them to talk to you, you're in trouble.
When you I guess this is a no problem. No worries, Mimi. When I think about, this is a question for the group as just like a whole. When you think about your sales process, right? Like, what do you do that, you know, we can all admit to mistakes. So let's start there. Well, I will go first if we need to. But when you think about your own sales process, like, where are you broing yourself out, right? Like, where do you make maybe perhaps a couple of missteps in the bro marketing sort of scheme? And then where do you think that what you do really well? Like what's going well, what's not going so well? Do you have any thoughts from anyone, Leon, Tasha? Mimi, I know you're just listening.
No,
Sure.
I'll throw out one thing. It's a head game, number one. And then we project number two. And then we consider judgment after those two conclusions. And that's where we go wrong. And I do that a lot of times, especially now in the world that I'm in finance. We're projecting that people are coming in the office with trauma, societal trauma, which goes around their money. And then the other thing is, we don't know exactly what to ask them because they come in frantically. And when you mentioned about, they're not talking, but they are talking, but they're talking like, aren't you my psychologist? Aren't you my shrink? And you're sort of like, no, I am not, because I'm your financial consultant. I don't know exactly how to do the mental health part of what you're trying to do. And right now, the scheme of things for us, we're finding more of that more than anything else. And you're right. If we don't appease them, this is what they do. They take their money and they take their friends as well. And that's maybe less than 1% or a smaller number of people leaving your firm. Then you have to go out and try to find new clients. Because in this business, it's reputation more than anything else. So I'll leave with this. It's the mindset that we as salespeople, if you would say, projecting what we think might be going on, but we're too afraid to ask the question.
Yeah, I love that, Leon, for multiple reasons, and lots of things were coming in my head when you were talking about that. Mindset is so important. A lot of people feel that when they're doing sales, that they're forcing people to do things. When I look at sales, we have a gift, right? You have a gift. You have you're the expert in finance, and you can guide them in a direction based on what they need and want and what their goals are to achieve. You have a gift. And so you're not selling, and this is where I want people to get out of the mind. You're not selling them anything. You are offering them your gift and brilliance to help them get to their North Star, to help them reach their goals. So that's where our mindset needs to change. And the second part, if I can offer you what I do on here is I have a class that I teach, but my third class is all about transitioning from that feel good kind of building rapport conversation, which is part of the 3 C's, to let me ask you a couple questions about your financial goals. And that's where I think sometimes the miscommunication is, or what I truly believe is that when we can take back a little control by preparing those questions in advance, and I'm sure you have them all, but put them in a way that is in a framework where you can then take them, say, because it will get them off that I'm scared about this and the psychology and the fact that you're trying to fix their family and all the issues that are going there, because that's not what you're an expert at. You're an expert in their financing, but you don't want to minimize it. But I'm curious. Let me ask you a question from your finance and bring them back and use that to get back control. A lot of times I come from hospitality, so we were like major givers. Let me give you everything because that's what we thought we had to keep people happy. But what happened is that we're not getting to the root problem that they're having, that we're then able to create a tailored solution for them if we don't bring them through a process that we connect and then qualify, like what do they need, what do they want, and we do that by asking questions. And then the next part is then how do we take their answers to the questions and create something specifically for them, because there's no one size fits all. Thinking that you have to, I get this all the time when I meet with new people and like, can you help me write a script? And I'm like, no, I can help you write what we call a USP, which is your unique selling proposition. What do you bring to the table? What are the benefits that you offer? And what differentiates you from your major competitors? And then, depending on who shows up, you can incorporate that and massage it and be a little bit more of a chameleon to bring that client in, because your goal is to help them with your brilliance and your gift. You're not selling them anything at this point. That's where the mindset change that I see. But if you can come up with a list of questions that will guide the client, get them off of where they are and start taking back that control, because they're there for the financial piece. And even though all that emotional stuff is going to come up, I get the same thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm a psychiatrist before I'm a sales trainer. But sometimes they have to get some of that out, and that's okay. But know when to shut it down. But we don't shut it down. We move them. We just move them into. So let me ask you a question. I'm curious. How would you, and bring them back and get them refocused? And I believe that might help get you out of that position where you feel like you have to have, okay, let me switch hats and let me be a psychiatrist now. Does that help a little bit?
Oh,
Or make sense?
No, it's all valuable feedback for me, and I accept it wholeheartedly. I think what it is just getting me back on track, because sometimes we, as you would say, the expert who have the gift, sometimes we need to be reminded that we have the gift, because we get into a conundrum and we find ourselves going down that funnel with the clients, especially when there's a number of them coming in with similar and sounding the same. You're just sort of like, what's going on with these people today? And you can't draw any conclusions because everyone's an individual. So
Right.
I think what you're giving me is something I can give other agents, the same kind of notion that, look, reframing it and taking back what we do as experts will get you out of this conundrum of, do I cry with the client, or do I give them tissues, or do I cry
Yeah.
myself and they give
Well,
me tissues?
yeah, I mean, I think this is where, obviously empathy, sincere, genuine, honesty. But again, they're there for a purpose. And in order for you to fulfill the purpose that they came to you for, you have to be able to hold them with compassion, with empathy, and then help move them in a direction where you can help. And you can't help them here. You can empathize with them, but you can't do that for your whole meeting, because then they're going to walk out without your gift. And, having that opportunity to present them, I like, well, that's where the qualifying is, right? Tell me what you need. Let's go over this. But you're the one who knows which questions to ask to pull out that information. Like, what do you need to know for yourself in your business in order to help these individuals reach their goals? And then be really clear. I laugh. I just had a class earlier today that I taught, but I have a little cheat sheet that it's a list of questions. And I'm human. I forget sometimes, I'll be on a phone call and I'll hang up and I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for how many years? But, and I forgot to ask the question. So, I think I think this question came up earlier, like, we're not perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. Flow. Let me try that 2 times. Um, I follow a philosophy, which I heard it from Tony Robbins. I'm not sure where he got it from, but it's called Chanaye, capital C, capital A, capital N, capital I, and it's constant and never ending improvement. And I believe if each time we finish a call, we do kind of a post op, like what went really well and what can I do better next time? If something didn't go quite right, we can't change the past, but we can change the future. So think about how can you ask that question a little bit different to see if you can get better results the next time.
I like to, after my calls that I have with people, and sometimes it's not even a sales call, it's just a conversation. A lot of times I'm recording, so a lot of us put in our AI chat bots,
Yeah.
whatever, and I have a little in ChatGPT because sometimes, we got to use some help. I actually download the transcript and throw it in there, and my question to ChatGPT is, what did I do well? What can I do next
Oh,
time? And what are next steps? And I do it after every call. Like, and it's not, and what are next steps is not necessarily about like, oh, what are the action items that need to get done? Not necessarily, sometimes it is, but not necessarily.
uh,
But it's more of like, oh, if I said at the end, like, oh, I need to do a proposal, okay, like, what should the proposal have in it, right? Like,
all
right,
right.
based on the conversation, right? Like, or even thinking further about like, oh, what's next steps? Like, oh, do I change the way that I ask this question, right? Because I'm like you, I have a cheat sheet for all of my
Yeah.
calls because otherwise I go off the cuff and I forget what I'm talking about. So
You
and yeah, and so I use that as like just it's an everyday or every day that I have a call opportunity to improve. So
I love that. I use AI for my classes and my coaching sessions because I want to be present, right? I don't want to be worrying about taking notes. And sometimes when I was taking notes, I wasn't listening to the person.
mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so if I'm not listening, how can I respond in a way that's going to keep the conversation going if I'm not listening? So I do use AI. I've never tried it that I know I sometimes will go in and say, I'll put in like I'll write something should I be writing this a different way, or am I forgetting something, or would it be more impactful? Like, what would you suggest I could put in here that would be more impactful? Like, so yeah, I love that too, but I'm going to try what you said. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, it's just another place where, you know, you can get coaching, right? Like
Yeah.
just because we're all trying to make this sales thing work. It feels kind of mystical in a lot of ways, but I feel like one, it's repetition,
Yes.
right? Like, you know, just you're getting your like literally getting your reps in. But then two, it's also like using that time app like doing that quick postmortem. Sometimes I
Yeah.
spend 10 minutes doing that postmortem, sometimes I take a couple of hours, right? Like it really depends on where the conversation went and how it went perhaps, right? Because like even the ones that seem to have gone like really well might not have gone as well as I thought, right? Like there might have like I was talking to another sales friend of mine and he was like he was reviewing the sales call with me and he goes, you know, or it was actually a proposal review. And he was like, she didn't ask you enough questions. I don't think she's going to move forward. Like, and no, she didn't. She kind of went ghost actually. So,
Yes.
right? So like there's this, I think like the actual review spending time and sometimes we're lucky and we have a person, but also sometimes we're lucky and we just use AI. It doesn't matter. There's opportunities there, I think.
The other piece too is I share this with all my classes and all my coaching clients too, is I truly believe that we are not born knowing how to sell. So sales is a skill, just
Mhm.
like learning to bake, gardening, skiing, snowshoeing. Like what? Well, snowshoeing is too easy. If you can walk, you can snowshoe. That's the wrong one. But thinking about, I don't care if you play the drums or a musical instrument, the first time you picked that up, you were probably not very good at it, right? And what did you have to do? You had to go find people that were better than you, and you need to start watching them and start learning from them and then practicing. And sales is the same way. It's a skill. I know it because I was in operations for the first part of my career in hotels. I was all in operations. I worked at the front desk, I was switchboard operator, reservationist. I mean, I worked my way up in the industry, and then they said, "Oh, this girl's got the gift of gab. Throw her in sales." Well, they threw me in the deep end in sales. For 3 years, I struggled. 3 years without any onboarding, any training. Literally, my first week at work, they sent me on a sales blitz. As anyone went in the old days when we used to go and take a bunch of brochures and hop in your car and go meet people. I used to be able to walk into people's offices. That was way before everything happened.
That was quite a long time ago.
The old days. But I thought just going out and chit chatting and throwing a bunch of brochures was going to get me business, and I didn't understand like although I was working in this beautiful hotel on the North Shore of Boston, it was a big, huge resort. People were booking with me because of they wanted to be on the golf course and they wanted to book in the hotel and they had done some marketing. And that was all great. Yay. I was booking some business. But what was happening is I was losing business and I didn't know why. And I was getting frustrated. And I was like, I wasn't liking sales and I was losing my confidence because I didn't have a process. I didn't know that there was, a way to go through to identify like who am I supposed to be talking to? Am I even talking to the right people? How do I figure that out? How do I know who I'm talking to? And how do I go through a process of being able to then build that rapport, which is great. I was great at that part. But where I really was falling down was how do I qualify the people that I'm talking to? And that comes from the pre planning, right? So we're talking about post, looking at what we did after the call, but are you properly preparing and doing your research before you get on the call? So, like, if you don't know this person, that's okay. But if you've identified who your ideal clients are and you spend time really dissecting them, not the person obviously, but who they are, their persona, what are they like, and you just listen to your clients. They're going to tell you everything that they like and don't like. And from that perspective, start building your conversations with them because the more you get to know them, the more you can start talking to them, right? But it's also knowing like before you go to the call, and this is what I do with a lot of my coaching clients, right? They pay me to be on their phone 15, 20 minutes before they show up. Oh,
Oh,
something popped up.
yeah, we're gonna get rid
Oh,
of it.
maybe we're getting a whiteboard. um, but yeah, so the more research, so they would call me and I would actually they'll be sitting in the car and I'd be going through the prep, I'd be walking through, who are they? What are you going to say? What do you think is most important? What are some of the objections? Don't worry about that. No,
No
no,
worries.
okay, that's
Happens.
life, right? This is what happens when we live. Just going through the paces on what are you going to have? What are you going to have for a conversation? What objections do you think are going to come up? What do you think is most important to this person? And how are you going to help them? What are you going to bring to the table? And if you get to a negotiation, what are you willing to give up? And what's your walk away? So it
Mhm.
depends on where they were in the position. Not everyone's our customer either, right? Because the reason why we spend time qualifying people is because we want to know, is this the person I should be working with, or should I refer them to somebody else? Now, I've met with a few people. I'm like, I'm not the person to, they start talking KPIs and numbers and they start going off on, again, always be closing. And I'm like, I'm not the right person for you. I'm going to teach them a very different way of selling. And if that's what you want, there are companies that do that. And I think they'll be better suited for you. But, doing the research ahead of time, planning out the call, knowing who your ideal clients are, what makes them tick, and then prepping before you show up for the call, and then doing the post op. Those two together, gold.
Yeah, I think we're in a space where we're this is in my own business, and I when I work with my own clients, I say the same. I'm very much on the same vein of like, it's okay if not everybody's for you. And one of the questions that I ask my clients always is because you have three C's, I have three P's. And so one of those P's is people, and looking at the people that you're working with, whether they're your vendors, whether you're contractors, whether they're your clients. My question is do you like them? Right. And it's a simple yes or no question. There's lots of room in business for gray area, lots and lots of room for gray area. But in this particular instance, you either like people or you don't, right? And so like why, when we're thinking about prepping for sales or people being brought into our business, like if you don't like them when you've reached them before they've been brought fully into your business, it's okay to like skip out and say like, because you're not losing any money. Like
No,
you're
and
not losing any money. But I also think that what happens is and because I the social we, but also everyone here, we get a little bit afraid, like, oh, where's that next dollar might come from?
right.
When like, but that's the least of your worries, because I
Yeah.
actually think that when we find that person that doesn't fit, then it's just more information about like what about them could I take away that will remind me when I'm looking at the next person that I'm like, oh, I had this like interaction that was like kind of weird and you're giving me the same vibe. Maybe I should say no. Right?
Yeah, we talk about our gut a lot. And I have to tell you, the times that I took a client that all the flags were coming up and it turned out exactly the way my gut told me it was going to be. I struggled through coaching this person from the very beginning to the very end. And I knew I should have turned it away. I knew it. I knew it wasn't a good fit. My goal is to have people finish working with me and watch their businesses grow and be super excited. And my goal is so they don't need me anymore, right? I should be able to get
Mhm.
enough of it out of here to them to set them off. And then, hey, if they need a refresher, the team needs a refresh, come on back. That's fine. But my goal is to give them enough information to set them free, and have them super excited about finish and like, hey, I get the concepts. I can do this. Like, I change them from I hate sales. It's salesy. It's pushy. I don't like it. I don't want to do it till, oh, I didn't know I could think about it this way. And now I can have fun and I can go meet the people. And now my business is like, I'm meeting someone this afternoon on a call who was exactly that. She hated sales. She was terrified of doing it. She's running one of the most successful businesses now, and I am so proud. I mean, she did the work,
Of
but
course.
it feels so like that to me is why I do what I do, right? It's because I want to give them that kind of information. But when you have someone who you're like, I don't know, it's not a good fit, it's really good to listen to what your
You
gut
should
is
listen to
telling
your
you
gut.
it's
Yeah.
not a good fit.
I love what you said here, Claudia. When we release, it opens up the space for what is meant to come our way. Like
Love that.
that's perfect, right?
Love
Like
that.
it's exactly that. Like, and I kind of think a lot of anytime that we kind of run into barriers and we're willing to one, do a postmortem, right?
Right.
Like do the postmortem. And sometimes the postmortem was like, whew, I met them in this way. Maybe I came to this call in a different way than maybe I should have, right? Like do the postmortem, like look at yourself, look at them, look at the context, and then yeah, and then try it again the next time. Like try it again the next time. But pay attention. Paying attention to your gut. I had a client that she was lovely on paper, but there was just like this like hiccup that we were having in our communication. And it wasn't that she was bad or that she was great, like terrible. There was nothing really. It just like we weren't clicking, and I was asking her a lot of quote unquote invasive questions about her business, right? But and so she was like, well, I don't want to, like, she wasn't sure that she wanted to trust me, but she'd already paid me, and so I was like doing my job. So it was like this
Um,
really interesting place to be in of like, oh, like I kind of knew, hmm, like before we got started, that she probably wasn't the greatest of fits. I need to pay attention to
yeah.
even the flow of conversation, the release of information when we're having just a regular discovery call. Like I probably should have passed on that money, right? Like because also when you've been able to create a relationship with your clients, oftentimes I'm like you, my goal is that I don't have a job anymore. um and but when there is that rapport, when there is that relationship, my clients come back to me, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm not trying for them to come back. Not that I don't love them and not that I don't want them back. I would love to have them back, so come on over. But like they're coming back on their own volition without me doing anything
Right.
other than like doing a check-in, like, how are you? How can I help? What's going on? Sending birthday cards, right? Like, just opportunities where we get to connect. And then they're like, hey, I want to run this by you. Can we jump on a
Exactly.
call? And like they volunteer to pay money, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And that's the way it should be, right? I mean, that's when we get, I used to always great because I managed big sales teams for a long time. And, a sales manager would come in all excited about booking a piece of business. I'm like, that's awesome. Congratulations. And we do the little booking dance and ringing the bells. I said, but I'm actually going to we're going to talk about the success when you get them to book their next meeting with us. The first time someone comes to you is great, but you don't know, were you the only one in town? Were you the only one who answered the phone? Were they in a rush? Like, so sometimes you get lucky, right? Lucky is not success. I mean, some people can use luck for a long time. I've never found that dropped in my lap all that often. So I've always had to work for it a little bit harder. But, luck is great, but you can't bank on it, right? So to me, the success, I knew my programs were hitting the right people. I knew my coaching was making sense when my clients were then referring their friends and family to me. When I was in the hotels and booking large events, when they were introducing me to the other planners in their organization to come and book their events because they know, liked, and there was that know, like, and trust. They knew that from start to finish through their entire program, I wasn't just going to book it and leave it and let someone else deal with it. That makes the difference is when they come back and they send you those referrals. Like everything you do, I truly believe should be to build that relationship and keep that connection going, right? To make sure that you're taking care of that person. It's not a one and done. And it's keeping that going. I mean, I've got clients that I worked with 40 years ago when I was working in Boston that I get invited to their kids' christenings and their grandchildren's weddings now. Like that's the relation. We no longer do the two jobs we were doing when we were working together, but that relationship morphed into a friendship, and that makes a huge difference. I do want to just one quick thing when you're talking about in sales. This part gets a little bit hard for a lot of people, but it's our job to be the chameleon a little bit. And I talk about mirroring a lot. So like when we are meeting with someone, can you use mirroring to help make the other person more comfortable in our presence? So when we ask questions, if anyone's done a Myers-Briggs or anyone's done a DISC training, there's multiple personality types, and allowing ourselves to be more flexible and more adaptable to the people that show up. So I know Leon had some different people, but some people might be coming in a bad mood, or they just want the numbers, right? We used to call that, rates, dates, and space in hotels. Like, just give me the rates, give me, if you have the space, give me the dates. So rates, dates, and space was our big tagline. Like, they don't want any fluff. They don't want any extra information. Just give me the numbers and let's go. And that's fine. And so you have to, this is where I believe us, when we are business people and meeting with clients, we have to be able to adapt a little bit and go, okay, that's what the rapport part of the conversation is that I teach. If you can ask them a few questions, you can try to figure out where their head's at and then change how you're going to approach that question. How are you going to ask it? Are you going to lower your voice a little bit? Are you going to be more excited? Are you going to bring it up? Are you going to bring it lower? Are you going to use different words to bring them in? And it's not to manipulate them, it's to get them comfortable with you and the conversation so that you can get the answers that you want. Some will close the door completely at you. And I think that was the topic of our conversation, the no. I look at no, not right now. Right. And that's okay.
But also no is fine.
And no is okay.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't even need to be not right now. It's just no.
Yeah.
Like I like keeping it at no, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah. Because don't waste any time. Like,
like
don't waste my time.
yeah, well, it's not even just it's that, but also, like it could be a no for you,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
keeping like no's are not because you're terrible or they're terrible. It's just wasn't a good fit.
Yep.
And if you but hope maybe you've been able to keep the door open, so then you can maybe continue at a different time, right? But
Yeah.
which is where that not right now comes in, but no is just fine, right? Like we want like oftentimes we talk a lot about like get to know faster, right? Like so that you can open the door for whatever that next opportunity is. Um I
Yeah.
want to actually, because we're starting to
Oh,
wind down, do we have any questions, any thoughts,
well,
anything
I
that
think
we
Claudia
that
just
we
asked something here
that we
too.
must decide on? Yeah.
I still take no personally. Yeah, a lot of us do. I think understanding what the no
Hi, Tasha.
means.
Have a good day.
Thank you. I think knowing what the no means, and I think that's where we sometimes ask when someone says, "No, could you elaborate a little bit? What, does it mean?" Ask them. Ask
Mhm.
them what the no means. Like, I've had people that, yeah, they don't have any need for my services, and that's fine, but they might know of somebody. And then the other thing is this is where my sales hat goes on. They might not have no for this particular company that they're working for, but what if they change jobs? Like, I've had people that had no need for me, but this is where you don't take no personally, but you also don't do the whole sour grape thing where you become like, you change their whole tune. Like, okay, well, I'm not going to be your friend now because you just said no. You treat them as if they're still there and they are going to be a customer. I think that's where I teach in networking, is that everyone you meet is just a new human being that you get to meet, and a new person. So if you look at every conversation as an opportunity to meet somebody new and learn something new, then you've already gotten to a yes. If they don't have any need for your business or an opportunity to work with you right now, that's okay too. I kind of use the analogy of planting seeds. I'm a huge gardener. I plant a ton of seeds. Not everything comes up in that garden. Maybe I put it in the wrong place. Maybe it didn't have enough sun. Maybe I didn't water it enough. Maybe it just doesn't like living in Vermont, because we have a very short cycle here. So think
Yeah.
of the
I
no as an opportunity to either take a look at it. Is the right people that you're talking to? Is it not right now? Is it that they're not interested, and can you build a relationship? Maybe they become a collaborative partner. Maybe their business that they're doing could set you up for something else. So I look at every conversation as an opportunity to either help them grow, or they might be able to offer something that I didn't know before I met them.
I love what you said, Deborah, because I'd love to expand upon it. You said thinking of it as a numbers game where I have to expect some no's, right? Like
Yeah.
if we were all getting yeses, then like think about the amount of like craziness that'd be running craziness that'd be running around every time you said to someone like, hey, do you want my service? And they always said yes, that'd be amazing, first off. But
Yeah.
like wow, I think there would be like the businesses that would be insane, right? Like I think we know at least one or two not really great business owners who even if it's not personally, who were a little bit like, oh, I wonder about your ethics just a tad bit. Be kind of scary. So I go for the goal is to go for no, but I love the reminder too, is to ask why. And
Yeah.
not in like this like begging and pleading way. We're not desperate, right? But in a very much like, but like going back to where your three C's are is in that curious way. Like,
Yeah, I'm
oh, what?
curious. Yeah.
What's going on?
Yep. If I could share a stat that drives this home, especially with new salespeople that I work with in teams, there was a huge article that came out probably around, well, it was a few years ago. So it might have been just before COVID. And it was on LinkedIn and I printed it out. And it was a chart that showed when people actually purchase. And I love sharing this because this one drives home what we're talking about. According to research over a very long period of time, only 2% of people are ready to buy from you the first time they meet you. So, like, you get an inquiry or you have a conversation, someone's interested, only 2% of people are ready to buy from you the first time you meet with them. That means 98% of the time, you're not going to get a sale on that first call. It takes multiple touches, conversations, opportunities, like again, notes, articles, connect with them on LinkedIn. I ask people permission. I finish a call. Would you be okay if I connected with you on LinkedIn? I'd like to stay connected with you. Now they're going to start to get your material that you're putting, but you're going to get to know them. So it's a process. It takes, depends on the client, but sometimes 8, 9, 10, 12 touches before someone decides to do business with you. And then the other stat is 69% of buyers don't buy and will not reach out to, I think I mentioned at the very beginning, will not reach out to do business with you until they're ready to make a decision. So if they don't have a connection, you're probably not going to be the person that they called. But if you think about only 2%, it just makes you feel a little bit better when you start getting those no's because that's a lot of no's and not now. But if you don't ask the right questions and you don't find out, I'm curious, where are you in the process? Is this something that you're not ready to move forward with now? Is this something that you might be ready in the future? And then ask permission. Would you be okay if I stayed in touch with you? I'm really interested to see where this goes. If are you interested? Would I be able to? And I ask permission, and then I try to set something on the calendar, or I put it on my own. If they're not willing to set a meeting now, I put it on my calendar. I always try to get a next step before I hang up with anybody.
I think also remembering that touches are not necessarily always 12 conversations. Like
Correct.
they can be,
Yeah.
it's an email, it's a phone call, it's a text message, whatever. So touches can be is a very, very blanket term. Go ahead, Leon. You're gonna be our last one of our last comments for
I
I
really
believe.
wanted to make it quick because some parts of me is like I took up a lot of time with the conversation earlier, but this is really important to me from a mindset. I always say if I do something for you and you don't do anything for me, a little bit with me is okay with that, but a lot of me is not because I've done a lot to get what you want. Like, if you can't do business with me, I'm going to introduce you to somebody else that probably can. And my thinking is reciprocity. I'm like, I helped you meet somebody else, you got something happen, but you didn't think enough of me to send someone back to me. And this networking thing that we do, I've learned to just let it go. And I'm like letting it go, letting it go. And I'm going back to this, man, I keep giving people stuff, but nobody's giving me anything. But I gotta let that go too. So I just want to hear really short from you, Rhonda. How do you coach people through that? Like, I do something for you, you should do something for me because I don't know. I come from a time if you scratch my back, I scratch your back, and that kind of thing. There's nothing like that today. It's like take, 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 take. And I'll shut up and eat my popcorn while you tell me the story.
Two things pop up in my head. Number one, um, I would spend a little more time really fine tuning who your ideal client is so that you stop referring them to someone else in the first place. So if you're going to do networking, make sure it's your tribe. It's those people that you believe would most benefit from you. So when we think about who's our ideal client, who are the individuals, what's the demographic, what's their price? Like if you are only working, if you truly want to help people, what's the scale? Do you work with people that have, $2 to $5 million of investment? Like what's that number? And then where do they hang out? Where do they go? What organizations do they belong to? And then start spending, it's the 80-20 rule. Spend 80% of your time going after that 20% are most likely going to do business with you. So you're not referring them to somebody else. The second part of that is when, if you're referring people over and over again, sometimes we forget to ask, are the people that we're working with saying, do you know of anyone who you think would be a good fit for me? So just asking the question, again, this is about being a little bit more bold. But if you're giving someone referrals and you're sending them business, there's no reason to have a call, and just have a call, curiosity. Hey, you know what? I'm also looking for some in the process. I'm actually have some openings. I try not to look desperate. I have some opening times that are coming up that I'm looking for some new clients right now. If there's any opportunity that you might be able to introduce me to a few people, I would really appreciate that. The other thing I do is when someone sends me a referral, I send I send a handwritten thank you note, which I'm very old school like that, or I'll pick up the phone. Depends on my relationship with the person that sent me the referral. But don't be afraid to ask. But again, if you're referring to a lot of people off to somebody else, then you might be playing in the wrong playgrounds.
And I also think, so so next month, this is me making a quick plug. Next month, Anitra Dean, who is a networking expert, is actually coming back for her part 2. And what we are talking about is actually talking directly about who your referral partners are and like why do you choose them. And so when you're running into issues like this where you refer somebody to someone but you're not getting that love back, it also might be that we're needing to switch up who we refer to,
Yeah,
right? Like, and not in a like punishing way or a punitive way, but in a more of like, oh, like I like working with people and referring for people who see the value in me too,
mm-hmm.
right? Like there's because that also is a relationship. So
100%
so
agree with that.
maybe they're not might not be quite your people. Um, thank you, Rhonda.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Leon, Deborah, Claudia, Mimi, and Tasha. Thank y'all too. Had to leave a little early. This was amazing.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Um, do you want to tell them really quickly what the gift is that you're?
Yes, two things actually. If you go onto my website, which is rondaberns.com, and you have to spell my name right, so it's RONDABERNS.com. If you go into my programs, I have actually 3 giveaways that you're welcome to take a look at. One of them is the 5 essential steps of a sale, which all of my giveaways are actionable. I'm not going to make you watch anything or read anything unless it's action steps for you to take away. And then to back up what I was talking about today, which is my sales process, there's 2 videos. They're mini courses that are complimentary. You can sign up for those. You will get hit with a bunch of automatic emails will come at you afterwards, but feel free to download. There's one on networking. Sounds like you have an expert, which I'll jump on that call with you next week or next month. I always like listening to other people. And there's also the one about the sale. So they're about 14-minute little mini courses, but we'll give you the little bit of a framework. It's the framework that I use. And of course, my courses are 10 hours, but it gives you kind of an inside look. And it would give you some of those steps that you can start playing with right away. I want people to have something they can take a gift that they can use. So you're welcome to give me a call and then set up a one-to-one with me at any time if you want to have a conversation. And Leon, we have to talk about Boston more, so you're gonna have to give me a call because I'm missing my hometown. But feel free to reach out to me for a complimentary call because I'm always available for that. But do the downloads, take a look. I've got some programs you could do online. There are some paid programs in there too, but those freebies are definitely available, and they will give you some skill sets that will help you through some of these, challenges that we all have when we are doing sales and just don't have the training or the formal training that I've had.
So to answer questions,
Okay. Put my information in for Ronda to connect with me.
yeah.
Can we put it up in?
So I'm launching my quiz today. You guys are still a part of my beta. So it is about understanding your backend ops personality. I made a screw up. So you've already gotten 2 of the emails, but no link to the recording. So you are going to get a whoops email in probably in the next couple of minutes, right after we get off this call. So that will be a resend. And yes, you will get the recording. Yes, you will get all of the things. I apologize for not checking my automation because, there's things that are happening in the world. So yeah, so you'll get the recording probably within the next couple of hours, but there is a whoopsie already in your email. I think there's 2 of them. So I've already solved the problem, but whoops.
Whoops. Hey, life happens when you're living. I think that was John Lennon.
Yeah, exactly. Have an amazing rest of your day, y'all. And we will see you next month with Anitra Dean.
Excited. Super. Thank you, everyone.